I do think we are live, and I'm hoping everybody realizes that we're live too. And I got to tell you, we had a great conversation going on, but too bad people couldn't see us, Susan. So, um, so let's give them a couple minutes to catch on that we're actually coming back and that we're here, and they're like, "Oh, she's actually coming back." And anyway, so to get things started, if you don't mind, Susan, one more time, let's do it one more time. Go ahead and give everybody, an idea of who you are, your background, what's going on with A2Z. What are you guys trying to, and how are you trying to revolutionize the way car people are doing business? And
Yeah,
while you're doing that, I'm going to check and see. Um, I'm going to check and see if these guys are catching on.
cool. So yeah, well, my name's Susan O'Rourke, and I am at strategic development at A2Z Sync. I have been working there for about a year and a half now, helping dealers transform to the one-person selling model, which is what we do at the company. We help dealers really transform their sales process to be less frictionless. So we do that in various different ways, from our software to our training, to continued support, really understanding how the dealership operates. We want to make sure that when we transition them to this model, that they don't fail. It is a huge culture change within the dealership. So having them, have us come in, we give them a playbook to really understand how this process works. But one of the cool things that I've also been doing at A2Z Sync is market research. So understanding how the customer really wants to buy a vehicle, because like we were talking about before, I think that dealers kind of understood that the process was broken, but they didn't know what to fix. So the online tools and widgets weren't fixing the problem. They were maybe contributing a little bit more friction to the process. So one of the things that we work on, with the dealerships is to understand what their sales process is and understand, where there is a disconnect with the customer and help improve that.
Well, you just had a individual Mark Harvey, as you can see, says, "Welcome, Susan." So here we are. So some people are seeing us. So
Okay,
obviously they're
good.
seeing us. So that's a good thing. That's a
Yeah,
great sign.
I had to
I had
remember.
no idea. I'm sure they were seeing us maybe on Facebook. That's probably why Christine went over to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
She just forgot to say, "Hey, by the way, we couldn't see you on LinkedIn." So we'll see, if Stephen Apicella can catch up to us. And again, my apologies. And so Facebook user is saying, "Yes, we see you now." So good. Okay. And then I've got another one. "Hey, I could use your name there." So great. We're seeing some viewers, and this is good stuff. Katie, yes, I see you now. Oh, well, Katie, here's the thing. My phone was starting to act up, and I was getting some texts, and I'm thinking, I normally don't get all the people that are, and this should be blowing up like crazy. I've got Susan O'Rourke from A2Z Sync, and this isn't blowing up. What's going on? I'm kind of sweating it a little bit. And so this is good to know that you're here, Katie. Katie is amazing. She and I actually share a lot of the same background, and but good people, and she works with Driven IQ, and she's amazing. So they have great technology as well to help dealers get those customers and geofencing, all sorts of stuff. So it's always an interesting conversation with Katie. I can tell you that. So we have a lot of good stuff. Maybe one of these days I can, get you guys on a call together. There we are. That's what Steven said. Here we are. So hopefully we can capture some more of the viewers and dealers and stuff like that. And again, my apologies. Had no idea you guys couldn't see us. But okay, so what we want to talk through, and one of the things that I want to hit home on, is that this whole thing is very uncomfortable for
Mm-hmm.
F&I people, and
Mm-hmm.
even some dealers. So more dealers, like from what I understand, they went to NADA, and really the message there was all about customer satisfaction, speed of delivery, efficiency is key. Let the customer buy the way that they want to buy was the message.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, bring it on home. So some of the guys will tell you from um, Facebook, some of these guys in that F&I Today group I told you about earlier, they're not buying in. They're like, "Wait a second here. You're taking my role, you're taking my job." And before I had to get off because of this technology problem, we were kind of talking about there's F&I people there that really they do a really terrific job in helping to put a deal together.
Mm-hmm.
It's if we had to depend, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of great desk managers out there that know what they're doing and they do a fantastic, fabulous job, but um, some just don't. And I mean, they just don't. And we have to rely heavily on that F&I person getting involved, meeting customers, and doing whatever that we can to put that deal together. And not only that, but to make the deal better. So maybe they put the deal together somehow, some way, but they haven't been able to. I mean, so now the F&I person is just their job is to make that deal better.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. I would think that that is the conversation that you have with some of your stores.
Yeah, so like we said, the F&I manager is very vital to the dealership. Typically, they're repurposed in our sales process from either a sales manager to a trainer to we discuss the processing department, which is kind of
Yeah.
overseeing, submitting deals. But yeah, so like we train. Obviously, it's a single point of contact sale, but we train specific timeouts or TOs that we call them, within the sales process because we understand that those deals come up where there might be some hair on them that someone needs to step in and the client advisor doesn't really understand how to explain that to the customer. So that's why when we repurpose either the F&I manager and also the sales manager, they become more of coaches. They're not stepping into that deal. They're really training that client advisor to talk that through with the customer or how, because they're not submitting the deal as the client advisor. So either the processing department or the sales manager is submitting that deal. So they're just getting the credit application and maybe talking about payments. Are we in the ballpark? Does this look good before I submit it? They submit all that information, and then the sales manager or the processing department works that deal. But to talk through it, the TO is usually before the test drive and after the test drive. And the client advisor is really supposed to communicate with the sales manager what they're seeing with the customer to understand, what they might have to say. I mean, I can't say that every deal no one gets involved, but a sales manager might have to get involved, from time to time. And that's where, they can bring that person in. And I compare it to a kitchen or a restaurant. You have your waiter, you have your manager, and then you have your cooks. So you have your waiter who you deal with. Everything's great. They build that relationship with you. But if there might be a problem, that sales manager in the background is kind of helping out. Hey, give them 15% off their meal, or I'll go and talk to them if they need help. And then you have the cooks who are submitting all the deals and kind of getting that deal processed. So that's kind of how I compare, to the real world, to automotive world, what that looks like.
So we have another Facebook user. I don't know. Tell me your name. I'm sorry, I can't see your name. I don't know. I mean, it's just a different night. Not a bad night, just a different night. Hello, Facebook user, and I'm glad that you're on with us tonight. And I think that this is a fascinating, great conversation because I have seen, the transition. I didn't realize you went into one pricing like that long ago. It was like what,
Yeah.
2000 what? 4? 5?
Sean Boy's one price in 93, And
In
then we work
1993.
and then we work with
Wow.
the Thomas Automotive Group in Pennsylvania, and
Hmm.
they went one price, I think, in 91.
That's
So
so wow. Oh, that's
they're
like
one person as well. Yeah.
I remember when we went to the one pricing environment. Saturn came out, and I was actually running a Saturn dealership at one time in my career, and everybody and their mother said, "Why do you want to go do that? What are you thinking? Those
Mhm.
doors are going to shut down in a year, and that customer can go up the street, negotiate anywhere else that they want. What makes Saturn anything different that people are going to pay retail?" So I learned a valuable lesson during that period of time. And I don't know, but people were signing up left and right. We had to put a sign in front of our store that we had to apologize for having that wait time. It was that busy that
Mhm.
sales associates were encouraged, let's not do any type of delivery on a Saturday. In fact, let's make that a day of product knowledge day. It was
Mhm.
because we were that busy. But anyway, it worked and we had a lot of fun. It was all about value driven, value proposition. And our
Mhm.
sales associates I mean, I got to tell you, they were awesome. They were great. They understood their products inside and out. They because it was all about value. It wasn't about the price. And we couldn't discount the car. But so I often don't fall trap to that, um, there's disruptors in the industry. That was one on the one pricing. And you know what? It worked. I mean, but got to be all in. Everybody has to be all in on that concept.
Mhm.
So, so from that to, you know, and everyone knows my story, I think. I mean, I say that, but we get into the menu presentation. Um, so I know that we did the menu presentation at the AutoNation stores, and I got to tell you, um, anyway. So I'm sorry. I saw a check coming in, but at and that was like unheard of. And everybody was just really uncomfortable with the idea behind change. It was like, wow, we're going to meet customers at a kiosk in the middle of a showroom. Why in the world would we do that? That is just really a tough way to go. It's completely different than anything that we've done in the past. So I see that's where you're at in this. You're like where I was 20 years ago,
Yeah.
frankly. And I think that this is what intrigues me because I know that you're following where this is what the customer wants to do. This is where the customer wants to be.
Mhm.
And you are giving them the ability to buy a car the way that they want to buy. It may not necessarily be the way that we want to do it, but it
Mhm.
is the way that they want to buy. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, and it's actually funny. Before time at the dealership, negotiation is actually the top pain point for customers when buying a vehicle, and then it's time. So the one price concept is, dealers I still haven't really caught on to that. Well, now everyone's one price, but because of the market, and maybe they'll say one price because they realize how much easier their job is. But yeah, like it is a different concept and it's relatively new. However, COVID really shined a light on that when people had to be laid off. That some people were doing 10 people's jobs. That was kind of what one of our dealers in Maryland, she had to lay some people off. They had some strict, laws that they couldn't bring in even some associates in. And she ended up having to step in and do all the deals. And she's the owner. And you kind of had a light bulb moment go off and be like, hey, like I'm able to do this deal from A to Z, but I have six other people doing the same job. So I think like, dealers started to realize that their sales process is broken. And like I mentioned before, 94% of the sales 94% of dealers are reevaluating their sales process in the future. So it could be a variation of different things, but they understand that this car buying process is broken with different, disruptors coming into the market from Vroom to Carvana. I mean, Lithia's Driveway is going to be very competitive in the space, and dealers are scared. Even the Car Bravo from GM Financial, that is scaring dealers, even GM dealers, because they think that is kind of a way for them to slowly go direct to consumer. But if the dealers are able to provide a great experience, the OEMs are not going to mess with their sales process. But
So here's a question for you, and I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. So get some of that, whatever that we do, a fan.
oh, fan, yeah.
And because I know what you go through. I remember 20 years what I went through when I was doing this menu, and they all thought I was freaking out of my head, like out of my mind. Have you ever, how long have you been in the car business? If you could hear all the stuff that would happen to me, I'd be in stores and they're like, Becky, let me show you F&I. Let me just show you how this is supposed to get done. You look like you're a really sweet person. And we kind of like you, but you know what? I'm going to show you how F&I was going to
Yeah.
get done. Now, meanwhile, let me tell you, my background, I'm from Baltimore. You think I don't know how F&I gets done? I sure as heck know how F&I is going to get done. And I sure got sent to, when I was working for JM&A, if everybody kind of remembers the AEP, Advanced Equity Plan, I sure do remember how F&I got done. So I also know Saturn. I also know a lot of stuff in my career. And also I remember, without a doubt, getting out there, doing that menu, and realizing that there was a better way of doing F&I. I just did. I found out. I'm like, now, had I not been put in that situation, I'm going to tell you flat out. Here it was. I was 18 months on the road working for JM&A. I was like, I am ready wherever Katie is. I don't know. She might be able to relate to this in some ways. I don't know if she got off or what. But the thing is, I mean, if you can relate to that, I was going to take this promotion and I'm going to make it successful. When someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to prove them I can do it, come heck or high water. And I'm on this like there was no tomorrow. So, but anyway, come to find out, I found out, you know what? This is a better way to go. It just is. So, okay. Then I go into these stores and I'm all over and then they're like telling me, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. Like, what makes you think that? Because this is how, let me show you how F&I is going to get done. And I think that they mean well. But do you go through that? Do you go through the questions of how long have you been in the car business? What do you know about the car business? And, I got to tell you, after our conversation, I don't know, the first time I had the chance to talk to you, I was like, oh my God, I'm so impressed with you.
Yes. Well, it's funny. My first job at ACV, I remember I got chewed out by a dealer pretty badly. And since that day, I pretty much was like, I need to be educated on every facet of what I'm, selling. And from there on, I just kind of try to stay up on like what the industry is talking about, what pain points, doing these market research. But even before I came into A2Z, I think I went through 3 weeks of training, just like with the Champ training, because Champ has their Champ University. So I was getting trained just like a client advisor would too. And then I was really blessed that I have one of my coworkers be an ex F&I agent. So I learned all about where that money goes and where this goes and that goes and this and this and that. What a reserve is, what's a good penetration for vehicle service contracts, like understanding really what our customers where the benchmark is. So we go into dealers all the time and we say, hey, we bumped up their F&I PVR by $300 a copy and it's this number. My store does $1,000 more than that. So one of the projects we're actually working on is kind of coming up with like a roadmap or like a spreadsheet of, really understanding what is good, what is good trends for our dealers and what we're seeing, because everyone calculates F&I PVR differently.
Yep, that's
Everything
true.
is there's
That is
you know
darn
you have
true.
yeah, you have all these different fees. Sometimes there's different packs. You might have some etch packed in there that the customer doesn't even know. But you have all these different things that, that you could have $3,200 a copy, but that's where we're trying to really find a good standard for our customers and show them that's one of the things, like what we're trending, because we believe so much in our product that we actually rolled out that if you don't get 3 times return on your investment, we'll give you your money back, because we want to make sure that you're successful, because it is a big transition. But we believe so much in the product and what we do in our training that we really can't argue that the numbers are there. However, I think there needs to be more of like I've learned especially more unified way to look at numbers, because when I first came in, I was like, well, what's this number for? Where does this go?
Well, I think
It
that's so important, especially, doing training with F&I. It's like, okay, first and foremost, you've got to know how you get paid. You've got
yeah,
to understand what is what. Because not if you don't get that, then nothing else makes any sense. So
yeah.
this is what we want to do. Now, I do want to share with you, Stephen Epicella, he cut it down a little bit for us
Oh,
so we could
perfect.
read it all. Go ahead.
I like A2Z. I've gone through the process as a customer. However, a single person process is a challenge to the position of today's quality F&I managers. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Can you share any data regarding your average F&I results with A2Z process versus traditional process? The time savings benefits are valuable, but how does it impact the F&I results? That's
Yeah,
a
Steve,
yeah.
we did talk a little bit about that, but that's okay. Talk
Mhm.
about how you were able. Yeah, it's a great question. Are you able to impact the F&I performance from
Mhm.
taking a dealer from traditional to A to Z?
Yeah, so one of our biggest assets is our training, like I said. So every sales associate or client advisor, as we call them, is trained 24 hours of training. So sales, basic sales training, relationship selling, all that, to F&I training, and then software training. And then they have to be certified to even be turned on, or go forward with our product. And after that, we have coaching, we have learning management systems, all that, to make sure that numbers don't dip, because that's the last thing we want to see is we come in, we do all this great training, and numbers dip. So we really don't want that to happen. But we actually had a dealer who was really hesitant to do this process, and it's a big dealer, and he really wanted to eliminate the friction points. So what we suggested was an A/B test in their dealership with a team of hand raisers to the traditional process. So we kind of put it out to the salespeople. Hey, would you like to, be in this role where you handle the deal? The deals in you have your own destiny made out for you. And we had about I think it was 5 or 6 salespeople that raised their hand to do the A to Z process. We trained them, we got them all set up, they caught on really quickly, and they actually outperformed the traditional F&I process in those managers by $652 per copy. So they were beating out that F&I those F&I managers, which wasn't very good for them, which also kind of made excitement within the dealership. So you had other, salespeople wanting to join in on the process. They were like, "Hey, I want to do this." They can do their own deals, and they can make, different. It's a different pay plan. They have more power. They could sell more cars. They have more control. So that A/B test really set that dealer to be like, we got to roll this out into the whole store, because it really does empower the salesperson. But yeah, there's, like we said, the quality F&I managers, they're definitely got a great set of skills, and they could either be repurposed. I know one F&I manager that we had, he went on to sell cars. He's like, this is great. I can do all this myself. I'm just going to go and sell cars and, make the same amount of money. But he went to be a salesperson. And then you have people who are the trainers or the sales managers. It really depends on their skill set, where they're placed for sure.
Well, I think that dealers would need to see some sort of performance tracking, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important. I remember the same thing, same questions came up, when we went to implement menu selling, like, oh my gosh, how is this going to affect my current F&I numbers? And so, and it, how does it affect my current F&I numbers? Okay, well, Susan is not here with us, so she
Nope,
dropped
I'm
off.
here real quick. Hold on.
Okay, well, I was just
Back
like,
here.
there we go.
My
She's
computer
got
just
this
had
new dog.
yeah, a new golden retriever. Yes.
So, so how old is this golden retriever?
9 weeks. He may be making an appearance later.
Oh, right. Well, okay. So where was I before we disconnect? What was I saying? We were talking about,
Oh,
the same
tracking.
conversation, with about menu, and that's the only thing I can relate to it. Katie, are you around? You think you might want to say something here? Some comments. But when I was doing this deal with menu, it affected F&I. It affected just the same thing. It affected the dealer. And they're like, if I put this in place, am I going to cost myself income? And I was like, here's the thing. It will never cost you income. It'll only make you more.
Mm-hmm.
And there are F&I people that I have had a chance to talk to after they have implemented a complete digital process and come to find out, I mean, just giving the customer control, giving them the menu, giving them the ability to have the customer make their decision through a digital means, menu,
Mm-hmm.
everything, take complete control. And the saying is give control to get control. Now, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you necessarily like that, the verbiage on that, but that's how I see it. And they were like, it was very uncomfortable for them to hand that over, like, oh my god, this menu, it's oh so upfront. Oh, we are disclosing payment in terms, and now that's going to make us more profitable. I will say this, and we've got some comments coming in now. Here we go. Finally got these guys to comment a little bit. And but I remember this dealer coming a little unglued on me because I wanted to do the menu presentation at the salesperson's desk. And he was like, why would you do that? Why not take the customer in the office where they belong? And I'm like, well, if they're most comfortable there, why don't we just leave it alone? So do you mind? Does it matter if I just sold 3 different product offerings? I mean, what are we doing here? So
Yeah.
it was, see, that's what we're talking about. And it was, I mean, we saw some dramatic improvement in the process and just being consistent and, getting rid of all these stupid games and everything else, right? Let's just be
Yep.
upfront. Let's just have a consistent process that we can all rely on. And I think a lot of that in of itself will help to impact the total, the performance. So got some questions here for you. Here's Stephen.
All right. Digital transformation can be challenging just because of the long-standing processes change itself no matter the topic, even when it's clearly better. Trying to change the entire sales process in one motion must have significant headwinds and probably limits scalability irregardless of clear value. Does A to Z only support the single person model or is there flexibility? Separately, is the promised 3 times return on your investment just via additional sales via the cost of A to Z or okay, calculations? We actually put that's a really great question about the flexibility. I think we talked about that on one of our calls, Becky, is you do have some rock star F&I people, and some dealers just don't want to let go of them, or the change might be slow. So we've actually had suggested some dealers to have a one desk model where, the sales associate is really involved still in the deal. They're meeting the customer, they're taking them on a test drive, they're discussing payment and terms, helping them fill out the credit app, but they're planting those seeds for F&I. Hey, I noticed you had a blown out tire, or, your car, do you remember the last time when you took it in, it cost you this much? So they're trying to really plant those seeds for F&I. With our software, they're able to be transparent, which we were just talking about. The transparency is really key. And they're setting up the F&I manager for success. So, when they do go, transition to the F&I manager, they kind of have all that knowledge. The customer's educated, which is super important. I think that's a big issue with just automotive and anything, is the customer's just not educated on, what they're buying. If you educate them and plant those seeds, they're more inclined to, maybe purchase that vehicle service contract. So we have toyed around with the one desk model in the past, but we haven't really had too many dealers do that, because most dealers just want to burn the boats, they call it. But that A/B test we have done very successfully, to kind of have a team and show what impact it can have on the dealership. So I think that is usually, if we have a dealer that's kind of hesitant, we'll probably suggest the A/B test first, then the one desk. And then we talked about in the last segment that it's just not for everyone. Some dealers are just not going to have total buy-in from their, the sales managers, the client advisors. So it just might not be a good fit. I mean, it's coming, the one person model is coming down the road, but it's going to be a slow walk to a run before we get there. So
Okay, so here's a good one.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, strong F&I department is the future of the industry. So they're saying that we've got we'll make zero on the front and $1,700 on the back. Now, I think there's a lot more to be made, maybe a little bit more. We have some dealers that are making 22 on the back, right? And again, it's all on how you do it. I get it, slice it and dice it. Some of these guys are selling that aftermarket, on the addendum sticker, and that's counting for F&I PVR. So I understand that. So it's like, okay, so what's the real number? What is the real number?
Yeah.
Do we follow AutoNation, or are we following Lithia, the
NCM,
public stores? And
you never know.
what is that?
NCM is even, some dealers question NCM. You never know.
NCM, I know.
Yeah,
And they're pretty, I mean,
yeah,
I think they're
they
pretty
go through
thorough.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
it really depends. That's kind of going back to the tracking aspect. We're really trying to make a blueprint for what's good. How can we, show progress with the dealership? I mean, any increase in back end, I think, is successful, obviously. But if a dealer wants to be at a certain percentage for a product, we can work on that. And it really, our training is very tailored to the dealership. And one of the things we also work on is working with the product provider. So we have a lot of dealers that are Zurich dealers. Those product providers are sitting in on our training as well. And we work with them to help with product knowledge, to make sure that they know what we're doing. And also, if they have any questions, they can help educate the salespeople instead of just working with that finance manager. So really working with that product provider helps out too. But I mean, we're definitely going to go back. These are not normal times. We're definitely going to go back to not losing on the front end. I would see sometimes some dealers were losing $500 a car on the front end just to sell it. So the back end is really important to our dealers, and we want to make sure that we're training. We're just constantly training. That's, I think, what differentiates ourselves from, the other digital retailing tools that have the menu built in. They just don't. They might not know how to use that menu, but it's there.
Well,
So
that's one of the things I love about you. And that's when, when we talk through your DR platform and your process, one of the things you said, Becky, we don't go into that dealership unless they are agreeing to training for, is it 2 weeks? Extensive
uh,
training.
24 hours per person. So it's like a 3-week training,
Wow.
certifications.
Okay.
They really, we're really giving them the whole book, as they say, or throwing them the whole book.
Well,
um,
do you have, the thing was, and Katie says here, I fought the menu when it was introduced. I mean, there are people that, I mean, tell you, they just thought we were out of our minds. Then I saw how effective it worked because she had to apply it, right? We had to apply it, actually get into the minutia, actually see it work. And she swears
mhm,
by the menu selling today. Full disclosure and transparency raised my PVR and product index significantly. And so it just, because the thing was, let's face it, a lot of these F&I people would say, I present 100% of the products 100% of the time. Well, that's just BS. That is
yeah.
not happening. And it's called step selling. So they'd start
Mhm,
off with the service contract and then they go ahead. Well, now that I got my service contract, I know I can get GAP. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my service contract and GAP. I got my rate. I'm good to go.
yeah.
And why do I want to do any of that other stuff for? There's no reason to do it. And when they found out, though, that if they did present 100% of the products 100% of the time, customers are going to buy stuff despite themselves.
Mhm,
And you couldn't help but increase. You just couldn't. The whole idea behind this is it's really kind of messes with people. It's like you can't prejudge the customer. And it's so, I can tell you, some of the best dressed customers made, $200,000, $300,000 a year. And I'm like, oh, they're never going to buy anything. They come
yeah.
in and you present your menu and it just does it for you. And man, all of a sudden they surprise the heck out of you and decide that they're going to buy everything. And that's
Mhm,
where this is going. I am hearing more and more of this remote delivery. I'm hearing more and more of just let the customer choose some of the options that would be available to you, and they will surprise you. They would just
mhm,
surprise you because they don't see the fight. When I was at Older Nation at that salesperson's desk, they're like, "Are you taking me into the F&I office anytime soon, or what are we doing here?" I'm like, "F&I off?" No, he didn't say that. He said the box. I'm
the
like,
box, yeah.
the box? What the heck is the box? And
Yeah.
I knew what it was, but I was just saying, what the heck is the box? He's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." But it was like, we don't do that. Just make a decision. This is
Mhm,
up to you. I'm going to put this on you, not me. You decide what's best for you.
mhm,
And that's really what this is. Um, so I don't know, 1700, maybe it could be 18, maybe it could, who knows? But and maybe the sales managers could use a little bit of it as well. The reason why some of these guys are at zero, frankly, now this is my little thing, is what are they presenting? They need to present their own menu, frankly.
mhm,
And I trained that years ago. I'm like, okay, so dealer, you like the idea of menu selling in the F&I office because we're getting 100% of the products to 100% of customers all the time. Well, okay, I agree with that. But what about your sales managers? Why is it okay for them to go ahead and pick and choose how they're going to present the numbers to a customer? Why don't we be consistent? Why are we deciding that we're going to discount one car more significantly because we have a salesperson says, "Boss, let me tell you something. Customers not coming down with any money down. We've got to have a subvented interest rate at 1.9%." I don't know. There, and so I'm thinking, if we're doing 100% of the products to 100% of the customers, why aren't we at least doing retail 100% of the time to every customer all the time? Shouldn't some of that be happening still? So
mhm.
I don't know. So that's kind of like maybe if we had some of that in place, we might be able to pick up some front end profit. Stephen says, and I'll let you have Stephen.
I agree digital engagement is the desired pathway, but our industry needs to embrace that concept before and after the sale. There is a cradle, but if done right, there is no grave. Digital life cycle before and after the sale throughout the ownership experience leading to the next vehicle should be the mission. Yeah, I think we talked about that in our last our
Yes, in
last
our
stream
last
about
session.
our last session about how why Champ is so successful is they really built that brand that people are gravitated towards, and it's the one person, one price, 1 hour brand, and they have it all over the city, and people drive all over to go to a dealership. And like when they acquired that Subaru store in an area that had a low income, their credit score went up by 50 points because people were coming from different areas of the state to buy cars from Shop, because they knew that that process, that CarMax process, because CarMax does this too, is the simple way to buy a car, and customers just don't want to sit and wait at the dealership pretty much all day. They want to get in and out of there. Typically, most customers know what they're going to buy when they come in. They might shop around. I have heard, a couple dealers say customers come in, but they don't leave with that vehicle, but they might shop around at that dealership. But they're going to that dealership because they know that dealership. So I completely agree. That
Yeah,
the
there's a
mission is to
relation.
get repeat customers, and we've actually seen. We did a case study with the Nelson Automotive Group out of Nashville and Oklahoma. And when they switched over to the one person selling model, their service went up too. So I think their service went up maybe 20%. So their service retention improved because customers had a great experience buying the car. They're going to get their car service there as well. So yeah,
So
it
do
does
you
help.
think that the one pricing may be something that a lot more dealers will kind of wrap their head around once this whole environment starts to normalize? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, the one price, I'm like, look at Carvana and Vroom. They don't negotiate, and they still sell cars. And YouGov is the Modern Harris poll, Gallup poll. They actually did their own automotive research study. And before time, the biggest pain point for customers is negotiating.
Mhm.
Millennials don't want to negotiate. they they hate conflict. So they don't want to go to the back and forth. And actually, the people who are selling the cars are millennials too. So you have two people that don't want to negotiate. So you're gonna have kind of a back and forth with people not wanting to. It makes them uncomfortable, honestly. If people want to be able to have a transparent, this is the price. What other industry or where else do you buy something that you negotiate? I don't go to Nordstrom and negotiate on my new dress or shoes or something like that.
Amen.
You just pay the price because you have a great experience
That's
at
right.
Nordstrom.
That's
They
exactly
always
right.
get you there. So so it's kind of the same concept. And I think dealers are starting to realize that customers do want that Amazon-esque, really like that easy, simplistic experience.
That's it.
But they're not going to buy, customers, like we said, are not going to buy completely online. 9% of customers last year in 2021 bought fully digital. So 91% of people were still coming into the store to buy the vehicle. And that's where the process falls apart, like we said. You have this great online experience shopping in your PJs on the couch, and then you get into the dealership and it's the Wild West. They don't have the car, they don't know what the price is, that you don't qualify for that rate, you don't do this. And or like they could have, they worked with 10 different people on the phone, and it's just a different experience than it was online. And I think that's super important to address too when you're making this one person transition to one person, because it just streamlines the process in store, which is where most of the people are coming. So
I just think that this conversation is you know it's a tough one. It's not easy at all. I know what it was like for me and Katie. I know what it was like for me. It wasn't easy. There was nothing easy about it. And I would be a trooper going into the stores and trying to, because you look at it like, oh, here's a piece of paper. You're going to fill it out. But it was the concept behind it. It's not
Mhm.
just it's the technology, but what
Mhm.
you're also providing is the concept behind it, which every provider, every platform provider should be offering as well. That's why I was so
Mhm.
impressed with the fact that, you imagine what that would have been if we said, okay, we're going to go meet the customer at the salesperson's desk. Here's what you can present to the customer and have at it. Here's your new tool.
Yep.
And it's not gonna it's gonna be like it would have never taken off that way. There are
Yeah.
too many people that said it's like Katie, it's not gonna work. There's no way this is gonna work. You're out of your mind. But
Yeah.
look at CarMax. Look
Mhm.
at, are they out of their mind, and how they do their process? Like you said, Amazon for many years, everyone said that's not going to take off. And they failed probably a lot before. Look at where they are today.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are things that you're going to have to change up a little bit or tweak
Mhm.
or, to refine it, to get it right. I'm sure Amazon had to.
Sure. Yeah,
But
there's
the thing is, at least you're in the stores, at least you're in the trenches, at least you realize that, you know what, this isn't going to happen overnight. This is something that has to be trained up, and
Mhm.
we're there, to help you along the way.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think a lot of dealers are scared of it because they've seen dealers do a what we call a DIY, do it yourself model. And
actually,
it's
like 51.
yeah. So we've had dealers, oh, I saw this group try to do it and it blew up, or there's kind of a bad taste in their mouth because there hasn't been really any partners like us in the industry. Obviously it's a great concept, and usually the like we said, the dealer, principal or the GM are totally bought in because they're like, yeah, this sounds great, this is how things should be. But it's really getting the total buy-in from there. But that's you got to have a playbook. The playbook is really what is important to, really make this transition, and also to have repeatable, process. Dealers say they have a sales process, but 15% of them probably follow it. They don't. It's all over the map. So
Mhm.
like, yeah, the sale, this kind of gives dealers a roadmap and a plan to really execute their process. However, and they can customize it. We want to meet where the dealers are at too. Like I said, we have considered different models, and each dealer is different in how they approach things. But obviously, at the end of the day, we love to have all the boats burned and kind of implement this and give you the playbook and walk you through it. But we understand that there's customizable approach to it as well.
Well, I know that this is, a not an easy conversation for anyone. And, I know that in my F&I Today group over on Facebook, it was, what are you even thinking? Why would
Mm-hmm.
you even have this in the F&I Today group? They really just want to take away from the F&I person or the role, and so I'm like, I don't think that that's what's going on, but you can't continue to go ahead and put blindfolders on expecting a different outcome just because you don't like what somebody's saying. And believe me when I tell you, there are plenty of times I didn't like what somebody was saying in my life. I was never had the luxury though to go ahead and shut my eyes and my ears and go, okay, well, I'm not listening. I'm just not going to listen. And, you know, because I felt that because I was so uncomfortable, with the idea
Mm-hmm.
behind it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to listen up. I'm going to fact find. I'm going to figure this out. And I am going to go in with both eyes, ears open. Let's find out what's it going to take to put this together. It may be with A to Z, it may be with something else, but it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just talking to another GM dealer friend of mine the other day, and he put, I mean, this is happening. Like it or not, you got it. the car business is so isolated when it comes to the digital age. It's like everything
Mhm.
around us is all digital except the car business. Everything that we do
Yeah.
is digital. Everything that's happening around us online, everybody's online. I mean, there's so much of that happening. It's happening in the car business. And we
Mhm.
have got to embrace this so that way we can put the right tools in place for our store. How does the
Yep.
customer communicate? What is our competitor up to? What do we need to do to make sure that we're not losing that business, that we're not reducing our market share?
Mhm.
Right? Let's
Yeah.
communicate the customer way, however way they want to. It's not about us, it's about them. And it's also a little bit about the competitor.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I think that's really important. I did a market research recently about the online experience, and really, customers don't want to buy a car completely online. 72% said they want like a hybrid experience. So,
mm,
like, understanding what that looks like will be really important. And I think that hybrid experience is being able to bring that digital in-store experience. So, if they want to fill out a credit app online, if they want to play around with payments, they can do that. But honestly, a lot of customers don't even use those tools. I also did some research on that as well, and 40% of customers didn't even use the tool on the website. So, 60% did, but that's almost 50-50. So, you have it for both. The online is where I think I mentioned too, is dealers were kind of looking in all the wrong areas when COVID hit to, these online sales and Carvana and Vroom. I got to get this digital retailing tool and put it on my website. And that wasn't the answer.
no, it
Because
wasn't
there's
the
some great
answer. They
tools out
thought it
there.
was the answer. It was
Yeah.
like COVID hit. It's like, okay, what do we have on our website? Don't we have something that does something?
Mhm.
And let's kind of try to figure that out. And let's see if we can't go ahead and start wrapping our head around how we're going to go ahead and engage customers online.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then
it
some
wasn't
were
the answer.
figuring it out and others just kind of like stopped and we're back to a square one. Let's bring the customer in. Let's go ahead. Let's keep doing what we've always done. So in
Mhm.
closing, for our dealers and viewers here, um, I know it's going to be exciting. We have who's so let's talk about the panel for a second on
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
F&I Master Series forum. Who's going to be there in your group that will talk through what's going on with A2Z? What do you got
Yeah.
cooking there?
Well, I have Brian Ali, who's our head of sales. He'll be chatting. He actually came from the Champ organization. And then we're going to have the GM of Champ BMW, who actually went through that transition. So they'll both kind of shine some light on that. I'm hoping to maybe get another dealer partner. Still waiting to hear from them, but we'll stay tuned.
Well, hopefully so, because I really want to hear what they have to say, and I'm sure everybody else does as well, wants to hear their thought process because everybody's everybody has a different take on how this whole thing's going to
Mhm.
work itself out. And I think, again, when you have a platform process in place and you're going into the trenches to put that process in place, I think that in of itself makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. And I commend you for that. I really commend you for being on both episodes with me and
Yes, no, it was
bearing
great.
through this
Thanks for having me.
technology because I think you're a daring person and you remind
Thank you.
me of the way I was 20 years ago. And it's like, wow, those days are just they were interesting. They were a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work. But I
Yes,
know
I
you're going to get
appreciate
through
that.
it and you're a smart person and
Thank you.
you know you know what's right and what feels
Mhm.
good. So if there's anything again that I can do for you, you let me know. But otherwise, April 6th and 7th, guys, you got to be here for the digital age and check out A2Z because they're gonna I think your panel it's going to be good. I think it's going to be real good. And
Yeah,
thank you
I'm
again for your
excited.
patience on the technology. I'm
Of
so
course,
sorry.
yes. Well, of course. Thank you so much, Becky. I really enjoyed the time. You're always great to chat with, very insightful. So,
The
yeah.
thing is I think again I like to have fun. I like
Yeah.
to Sometimes, sometimes I hit a little bit harder and but I know this is tough. This is a tough piece because you're affecting change in a big way in these dealerships. So you've got your work cut out for you.
Yes, we
That's for
do.
sure.
We're
But,
ready for
I
it.
think you are. There is no doubt about it. So thank you again, guys. I appreciate you coming back for the second time around. And I'll see you next Wednesday with Steve Burke from Agora. And he's talking about AI and FICO is not everything. So getting those deals bought. So interesting conversation with Steve Burke. So thank you again. I really appreciate it, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you.